Welcome. This is Jeff Vortier with video 6 in the series on how to increase prices and keep the customer. Today we're looking at step 5 of the 7-step process, increase the price. Just to refresh where we've been, let's look at those 7 steps again. Number 1, accept yourself. Number 2, know what you're actually selling. Number 3, know what the buyer is buying. Number 4, know the numbers. Number 5, increase the price. That's the subject of today's video. Number 6, doing the deed, telling the customer. And number 7, making the cash stick. Today is all about deciding how you go about increasing your price or deciding what that price should be. And I want to start off with a quote from a famous American, a sales guy called Og Mandino, lived from 1920s to the 1990s, I believe. Author of a book called The Greatest Salesman in the World. And here's the quote. It says, if we price ourselves too low, the world agrees. If we price ourselves with the very best, the world willingly accepts that value. Let's just repeat that. If we price ourselves too low, the world agrees. If we price ourselves with the very best, the world willingly accepts that value. And I want to refer back to a comment I made in the very first video. A guy called Dan Kennedy talked about the idea that the price that you put out is up to you. Whether you decide to tell the world you're a $100 an hour person, well, that's fine. Or whether you decide to tell the world you're a $500 per hour person, that is fine as well. And so this whole concept here is about looking at our confidence. It's about the message we take to the world. You know, if we go and price ourselves at $100, well, the world will agree with that. It's fine, they'll accept that $100. They're not going to tell us we should be charging $500 an hour. But if we go out and say our price is $500, then the world will accept that as our price. Of course, we still have to do business with them. But it starts with us, with your price, whether it's for your consulting services, for all the products that you happen to sell, it doesn't matter. And here's a quote that I really, really like. It says, amateurs reduce their prices, professionals increase their value. Let's go through that again. Amateurs reduce their prices, professionals increase their value. And that's from a guy called the Kitchen Sales Coach. Now the thing I like about this is when you think about in reality, in the real world, what happens? If you go to a professional salesman, maybe a used car salesman, we're all pretty wary of those people, but when they sell you that car, maybe a new sales car person, when they sell you that car, there's the basic price of the car, and then there are a whole series of add-ons. Well, would you like a tow bar with that? And would you like the special wheel package? And would you like this package and that package? You know, we'll give you $4,000 of the value for a mere $1,000. Point is that they're increasing the value that they get rather than discounting the underlying price. When you sit down with a very professional salesman in any sort of business, doesn't matter whether it's selling meat or selling flowers or selling professional services, the thing that you notice is that they're always looking for the upsell to add value to the deal rather than discounting their prices. What are some of the things that buyers value? If we understand what buyers want, then that can be an indication of how we can increase our price. They like reliability. They like value for money. They like quality. They like guarantees. They like convenience. They like time saving. They like professionalism. They like dependability. They like reputation. They like friendliness. And they like speed and knowledge. The thing about these things that people value is that not a lot of it is to do with the price. You know, a lot of these things in this list of things that people value are often things that we can do for free or cost us very little. You know, think about professionalism and reputation and quality and reliability, things that we can control and in any event should be controlling in our business, and so there is no extra cost for providing those. And even guarantees, giving somebody a year-long guarantee shouldn't cost us a lot of money. Those are the things that people value, and the point when we're setting our price is to think about those and how we can add those into our price without adding a huge cost to ourselves. So the question is, can you relate to these in the personal sense? If you are a buyer, buying whatever it is you buy, maybe in the weekends when you go to the shopping mall, if you can relate these into a personal sense, then translate those into the company sense. When you're selling your company's goods and services, whether it's you or a product, think about your buyers in the same way, because those people are affected or influenced by the same things that you are. You know, the whole point, the whole issue that we need to think about here is that our customers are probably no different from you when it comes to valuing the things like the items on this list. When people buy, it doesn't matter whether they're buying for the corporation or for themselves, the things remain the same. What considerations should we give when setting price? And the first one is to establish the facts. And I cannot reiterate strongly enough that we need to establish the facts. We need to understand the margins on our product. We need to understand how much money we will make when we sell our product. Pretty fundamental stuff. We need to know some idea of volumes and understand the volume effect on our business. We need to discuss the people at the coalface. Discuss the people in the front of the shop or the salespeople out there, and understand what is happening in the market. Tell them about your plan and ask them the questions. Well, if we put our prices up, what will happen? And ask simple questions like, if we put our price up by, say, 10%, do you think that would have an impact? By 20%, 50%, whatever it is. Salespeople are keen to keep the price down to the extent that they can sell more product. So you have to be wary of the answers, but these are the guys that know what are happening in the market. So you need to get beside them and understand what's happening. Work out your worst case scenarios. The biggest myth associated with pricing is that if we put our prices up, even by just 10%, then all our customers will disappear. Well, that is hardly, if ever, the case. The fact is that customers do not leave in droves when you put prices up. So understand for your business what would happen if you put, for example, prices up by 10%. Estimate how many clients you could afford to lose and still be as well off as you are today. We'll have a look at those graphs for that in just a moment. It's coming back to facts and understanding what's really happening in your business rather than making assumptions. And think about the value that you offer. You know, we looked at that previous slide, looked at things that people value. See how many of those things can be incorporated into your current offer so that people think they're getting exceptional value for the price that you're charging. Go back to that quote. Amateurs reduce the price, professionals increase the value. Here's a line of equal profit, and basically what we're trying to do here is just establish at what level would we make the same level of profit if we put our prices up but sales volume fell. So in the bottom left hand corner in this particular example, if the price goes up by 10%, it is saying that we can afford to lose about 18% of our sales and still be as well off. Price goes up by 10%, in this case sales could go down by 18. Now I'm not suggesting they will go down by 18, but we need to understand that dynamic. And the reason this can happen is that we make proportionately more on the products that we sell compared to the products that we don't sell if we didn't put the price up. And in the middle of the page you'll see in this particular example that a 50% price increase means that we could afford to lose a bit over 50% in sales and still be as well off. Now I'm not advocating we don't get rid of our customers, but we need to be aware that this is here. And these things act like a bit of a security blanket. Now, if we put our prices up by, for example, 10%, knowing that we can afford to lose 18%, we can discuss that with the staff, we can discuss it with people we know, and we can just mentally think about it and accept that it probably will not be the case that 18% of our customers will go, and so we'll be on the right side of the ledger. So having established that line of equal profit, the next thing is to look at what would happen in reality. Think about what could happen in reality, and that's that red line, the actual line. So if we start down the bottom left hand corner, we see that the blue line says that if we put our price up by 10%, we could afford to lose about 18 to 20% of our customers. In reality, in this example here, this company lost 3 or 4% of its customers. And so what this graph shows is that the blue shaded area represents additional profit that you can make by putting up your price. So we just take that, the first example, the 10%. It's saying if we put our price up by 10%, we only lost 3 or 4% of customers. We could have afforded to lose 18. We are ahead of the game. More people are paying more amounts of money. In this example here at 50%, the lines cross. And so we have got a bit of price resistance coming in. And then as we get to 60 and 70%, you can see that our sales actually go down by more than is required to keep our profits the same. And so we wouldn't want to price, in this case, anything above 50%. And by 90% we've lost our total market. But the point is not to be greedy, but to understand and accept that at the low end of the graph, often by putting our prices up by 10, 20, 30%, we actually make more money. Let's look at this on the next graph and see that in a different perspective. In this graph here, we can say that at a 0% price increase, obviously what we're doing now, this company is making profit of $40. Doesn't matter if it's per unit or in total, it's making $40. As the price goes up to 30%, the company is making $55. And it's only when it gets back to 50% that the profit drops back to 40. So again, anything in that range from 0 to 50%, anywhere where the red line is above our current profit of $40, we are making more money. So the issue for you is to think about your prices and your sales volumes and try and understand what would happen if you put your prices up. Would people go? Highly unlikely. Would they buy less? Maybe. Would they buy the same? Quite probably. And just have a feel for where some of these parameters are. Ask customers. Ask your sales staff. Ask other people you know and get a grip on the matter. One of the biggest things that we fear is that when we put the price up to our customers, they will all leave in droves. Apart from the fact that this photograph proves that men do cry, I want to work through the scenario where we tell somebody, for example, that we don't like their prices and that we'll go and find somewhere else. We have to find a replacement. Have you actually thought about how difficult it is to find a replacement supplier? First thing is that you have to go out and explain yourself and your business to this new person. Well, I'm an accountant, or I'm a travel agent, or I'm this corporation or that. So you have to have that level of understanding. And that takes time and cost and effort. There's a risk that they might not get us, in inverted commas. We might be a wee bit special, well, we think we're a wee bit special and we have special needs, particular requirements, and they just don't get that's the fact. And so there'll be a training issue involved. Might not have the time. It takes time to establish relationships. We have to find a supplier. We have to sit down with them and talk about our business, maybe take them out to lunch or coffee, get to know the people. It takes a long time to happen. We might not be bothered. It's a bit of a pain to go through this process and find a replacement. And the thing is that we've already invested a lot of time in this relationship. Even the chit-chat that happens week in and week out, a month in and month out, we build up this picture of our supplier, and the supplier builds up this picture of us. You get a common shared language. You can use abbreviations. They understand, for your travel agent for example, they understand that you want to sit at the back of the plane in the aisle, or that you need to travel at night time, or you want to travel in the morning, or you want a rental car when it arrives. All these little things which just add to the relationship. So the whole point of this exercise is thinking, well, even if our reaction is, well, I put the price up and we don't like it, in the cold hard light of day when we've sat down and we've had time to reflect, often we come to the conclusion that, well, we'll stick with the old supplier because of all the factors I've mentioned on this page. And if that's going to happen in our circumstance when we're dealing with our customers who put our price up to us, then it can equally apply to our customers who have the same reaction when we put our prices up. And the other thing about this particular page is that if this is the way that people think, then if we couch our explanations in these terms and talk about, when we put a price increase, talk about the fact that we've had this ongoing relationship for 2, 5, 10 years, all the things we've done together, all the things that we understand about the business or that we know about what's happening, and appreciate them, then that's likely to be a good selling point for putting up our prices. So that's it for this video. Turn to your workbook, page 76 to 90, and here's some of the key questions that you need to answer from this section. It's about raising your price and keeping the customer. It's about debunking the myths that surround us. The fact that customers will not leave in droves when they put the prices up. You'll come across some techniques for setting prices. It'll also talk about premium prices. But generally, the system is that we should have 3 prices: low, medium and high. We'll look at bundling and unbundling. Sometimes it makes sense to bundle up products and services so there's one price for a whole series of products. At other times we should unbundle. If we're giving away too much value, when we looked at our waterfall analysis, it might be the case that we can actually unbundle some of those services and sell them as separate items. We need to offer the customer options. It raises a few questions about discounting, and there is the usual summary and action points. Thanks for listening. The next step is to answer the questions and look out for the next video in a few days' time. Remember the old saying, if nothing changes, nothing changes. Pick a few points from today's video and focus on taking action. Until next time, ciao, this is Jeff Vortier signing out. Bye bye.